Yesterday we brought you a report out of Lucasfilm from an alleged insider who claims that the big excuse for Ahsoka's finale ratings collapse will be Loki. Now, less than 24 hours after we brought out that report, Disney is now giving us the Loki numbers for their premiere, telling us just how great this has been. But there is some serious question when it comes to how they are presenting this data, as well as the big question hovering over everyone's mind: where are the Ahsoka numbers for the finale? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the WDW Pro channel. So happy to have each and every one of you, and happy as well to have Jonas J. Campbell, investigative reporter for ThatPartPlace.com and the chief editor over on the That Part Place YouTube channel. Jonas, welcome back.
Oh, so good to be here. I am an editor-in-chief. I am the chief of these editorial people.
There you go. Well, Disney may need to hire you as a chief over their data. Let's take a look at what they've got here. This out of TheWrap.com. Loki Season 2 debuts as second most watched Disney Plus premiere behind The Mandalorian Season 3. Here's what's so interesting, Jonas. The Tom Hiddleston-led series launch drew in 10.9 million views after 3 days on the streamer. Well, now what's interesting about this, folks, is you'll recall about a month ago when Disney put out those Ahsoka numbers when they were trying to really fight back against Samba TV. Ahsoka had 14 million. So how is it that Ahsoka isn't the second place? And how is it that Loki isn't third place? Well, we're going to explain it in just a moment, but let's take a look at the article first. The Season 2 premiere of Loki has debuted on Disney Plus as the platform's second most watched season launch, behind only the Season 3 premiere of The Mandalorian, which aired in March. Also remember, folks, that The Mandalorian Season 3 was the worst performing Mandalorian season, so that does not portend well for anything else that's on Disney Plus, considering they are trailing that. As viewers tuned in to watch Tom Hiddleston reprise his role as the God of Mischief, lowercase g, the season debut garnered 10.9 million views globally after 3 days on Disney Plus, according to the streamer, which defines views as total time screened divided by runtime. For reference, the August series premiere of Ahsoka drew in 14 million views in its first 5 days of viewing on Disney Plus. In the week of its August 22nd launch, Ahsoka was the most watched streaming program from August 21st to 27th, according to data from Samba TV. Now, this is where it gets funny, Jonas. Here is this article on The Wrap, dropping the 14 million views, and they never stop to say, now, wait a minute, 10.9 is less than 14 million.
I think
so. How can this be?
Here. Yeah, okay.
Well,
okay.
Our good friend Valliant Renegade actually explains it, Jonas, and I want your take on this, why you think Disney is doing it this way. Here's what Valliant says. Disney was so concerned with Samba TV reporting on Loki after what happened with Ahsoka that Disney just dropped another contrived internal number of 10.9 million global views for Loki Season 2 premiere. But that is a 3-day, and Ahsoka was a 5-day measurement. Interesting. So Ahsoka gathered 14 million views in 5 days. Loki gathered essentially 11 million in 3 days. And we know that, according to Disney, Loki outperformed Ahsoka in those 3 days. They also state Loki 2 was the second biggest premiere of 2023 behind Mando Season 3. Of course, they go on to talk about how Mandalorian Season 3 was not that impressive. Jonas, what is Disney up to here? Why are they releasing these measurements using different intervals that skew the way that readers will perceive it?
Okay, so let's talk about the one thing about this data that Disney has released. They say that they use a total watch time divided by total available runtime metric. So this is always going to make whatever premiere that you put out there, it's going to favor premieres. It's going to favor things with short run times. If they put a 30-second trailer on Disney Plus, or if they put a 2-second trailer, how about that? And they put it on Disney Plus, you just watched it before you've realized you've watched it. It has however many views. If you have something that is 1,000 minutes and everybody watches 2 minutes of it, then essentially you have no views because no one can ever reach the end of that. So if you put something that's 10 seasons and a million people watch 1 minute, well, nothing. So when Ahsoka comes out and has a 43-minute season premiere, I'm not saying it's 43 minutes. If everybody watches 43 minutes of that show, then each one of those people counts as one view. If there were 10 seasons of that show and everybody watched that same episode, it doesn't count as a view.
Right. Now, the other interesting thing, Jonas, is that we don't know if Disney also throws in an expectation that there's somebody else besides you watching the show. We don't know how that works at all. And that may be how we get such skewed numbers in terms of what Nielsen will show us. And we trust Nielsen quite a bit more than Disney. And then Disney will show us this stuff, and it's like, these things don't seem to add up together. This just doesn't look right. And so let me give you another example of this. Let's go to the original public release from Disney, literally straight out of Disney. This was from August 29th. Okay, so this has not been long ago when Disney was pulling this 14 million view statement out of Ahsoka. So what did they have to say? Well, back then on August 29th, they said the following: Lucasfilm and the Walt Disney Company are thrilled and humbled to announce that Part 1 of Ahsoka, Master and Apprentice, was the most watched title on Disney Plus this past week. The debut episode garnered 14 million views, making the series #1 globally on the streaming platform. Pause there, stop, folks, because here's where you might say, Pro, what are you talking about? Disney knows their absolute numbers. They know which shows did better or worse. You guys are just making this into a convoluted mess when Disney's being straightforward and forthright. Well, here's the problem, Jonas. We know that's not right. We know that Bluey beat Ahsoka in Ahsoka's premiere week. And that's despite Ahsoka having a theatrical run-length dual episode release. And we know that Bluey beat Ahsoka because we saw the Nielsen numbers, and it's not even close.
Right, because Bluey beats everything, because it's a fantastic show. It's also telling that they didn't put in for 2 episodes when both episodes dropped on the first day. And they obviously are bragging about that #1, and there was obviously a drop-off before that second episode.
Yes. Okay. So, but here's the big question, Jonas. To go back to this, this is a big release. We're choosing the wrap, but this is everywhere. All of the access media, all of the mainstream media, they are covering Loki and Loki's numbers. Jonas, what has not been released, and this goes right back to our reporting from yesterday, where we talked about Lucasfilm feeling betrayed. Well, you better believe they feel betrayed now, because here's the question: where are the Ahsoka numbers? We're getting Loki season 2 debut numbers. We're not getting Ahsoka finale numbers. Ahsoka finale numbers, if it follows the pattern of Disney Plus shows, it should beat the premiere, and that should be surely more impressive than Loki. And Ahsoka, the finale, came out 24 hours before Loki, so Disney should have the numbers already. They should have had them before Loki. Yet we get Loki numbers, and we don't get Ahsoka finale numbers. Jonas, why?
I'll take everybody through a recent history between Samba and Deadline and Disney. First of all, Samba does work with Disney in order to provide data and give them
officially they're business partners, or yes, they have been.
Right. So we're not implying anything untowards here when we say that they work together on some level. So they do have, it is in their best interest for their customers to be happy with them. I'll just say that. There was a bit of a kerfuffle about the first episode of Ahsoka and it having 1.2 million 1.2 million households watching the show, and there was a debate. Our own Valliant Renegade got into a debate with Samba TV about, well, why are you doing 6 days versus 3 days or this, because it premiered on a Tuesday, and they said they wanted the weekend in there as well. Okay, maybe we disagree on whether or not that should be the case, but they've at least released the justification for that information. An intern obviously was in charge of the Samba TV account at that point, because they should not be interacting with a 50K subscriber YouTube channel, having to defend their figures. And
especially when the YouTuber is right on the money and puts them at great risk in terms of looking foolish.
Right. The same YouTuber who has released an expose talking about the actual costs of all of the Lucasfilm productions and then the actual cost of the Marvel films, Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame. I'm not trying to plug it. I'm just saying this is a person who has a lot of analytical data that does not speak well for the Walt Disney Company's spending habits or any of their obfuscation about how well they've done.
It's a
So
good Scrabble word, folks, if you've got enough letters.
I use it way too often today, specifically because we've been talking about Loki. I lost my train of thought there for a second. But to say that Samba has been awfully quiet since that first episode of Ahsoka issue. So there is no finale number available for everyone to watch. It reminds us all of when Andor's episode 1, 2, and 3 all dropped on the same day. Again, the premiere for Andor was 3 episodes in one day and barely registered at 624 million minutes on Nielsen. Samba TV didn't even bother to put out the information for whatever it was for that day. I think this is another instance where the numbers are low. And now you have the Disney company not quite publicly feuding with Samba, but they're wanting to get ahead of the metric. These numbers
Jonas,
were released.
Disney could put out the Ahsoka finale numbers. Disney has put out the Loki season 2 debut numbers, according to Disney. So why does Disney not want to release the Ahsoka finale numbers and celebrate with Lucasfilm the great triumph, this female empowerment, barn burner of a show? Why do they not want to celebrate it?
I celebrate all the women at Lucasfilm, including Dave Filoni, because the metrics. I'm sorry,
Dog. Well played. Continue on.
That's not exactly what I meant to say, but I'll leave it. The end of a season, when you have an entire season, your views are not going to be as good for the reasons that I struggled to point out earlier. We're recording this a little late at night, but it doesn't change anything about what we're saying. The longer a season goes on, the less favorable these views are going to be. Tom Hiddleston-led series drew in 10.9 million views. They're essentially on episode 7 of Loki. That puts.
So wait a minute, Jonas. Are you saying that Disney potentially set up a rubric for ascertaining viewership and promoting that out in the public that specifically, what would you say, benefits premieres, and perhaps to the point that it gives maybe even a disingenuous calculation that overinflates in the public's mind what premieres are doing? And so Disney is more interested in releasing premiere data due to that skewed rubric versus giving us finale data that would not be well received.
Yes, the shorter
the same calculation.
The shorter and the lesser of the content will always be favored by this model. You could get something like The Simpsons, and new episodes of The Simpsons will never be viewed by this metric because they will never be favorable to something that's been around for 35 seasons like The Simpsons.
And this is also how then, Jonas,
if you have
this is also how,
or a short will win hands down if you get everybody watching that short.
This is also how then Bluey was not in Disney's calculation the most streamed show, despite the fact that Nielsen shows that Bluey dominates everything Disney does. And by the way, folks, don't forget that Bluey is not created, crafted, designed, nor heavily influenced by the Walt Disney Company. It is acquired by Disney through the BBC. You're saying that this calculation benefits Disney shows, which are brand new, and disadvantages shows like Bluey.
Right. There's ridiculously high budget, short run, essentially limited series content is favored by this view from this way of calculating view time.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see then. When we get the data, I cannot wait. Folks, we're about maybe 3-4 weeks out of finding out in Nielsen how Loki did with its premiere versus Ahsoka. But I do find this tremendously fascinating that within 24 hours of us getting word that Lucasfilm personnel may have felt betrayed by Disney, that Disney releases numbers that make Loki look really good. But not only that, they release it with only 3 days so that it gets to have the title of being the second most watched, but the number itself doesn't look like it's actually bigger than Ahsoka, where they're trying to split the baby, and unlike Solomon, they are unable to do it in a way that satisfies anyone at all. Jonas, final thoughts on this craziness that Disney has put themselves into, and perhaps if you'd like, Jonas, maybe you want to give us some final thoughts on why this is sort of indicative of a company that's in need of an individual like Nelson Peltz to come in and clean out the disingenuity of it all.
Well, first of all, I'm going to say that Solomon did not cut the baby in half. He was setting them up to say, we're not going to cut the baby in half, guys.
You have spoiled the story, Jonas. Folks, we're not here to spoil 3,000-year-old stories, but Jonas apparently is. Go ahead, Jonas.
I just want to make sure everybody knows we know this story. Yes, a company that has to lie in order to say that they're doing well. Okay. Yeah, Baby Yoda was a clear indication that Mando Season 1 was a success. Toys flying off the shelves, children being interested in the content is a clear indication of success. Disney, by the way, That Park Place, if you want to go look at our video from Monday, we talked about the fact that Coco Melon, the people that make Coco Melon, Moonbug, have been hired by the Walt Disney Company to please make us one of your shows for our streaming service, because apparently we don't know how to make children's content at the Walt Disney Company. This is a clear sign that they need help, and if they're hiding behind iffy numbers, they could just say, everyone loved our show, don't you agree? But instead they have to come up with this weirdo number that makes no sense in normal views, in normal parlance. 10.9 million viewers. Oh, are you trying to say you got like 10.9 million like in network ratings? No, we're just hoping you'll be confused.
That's right. Well, it's definitely confusing, and folks, that's why we are here. We are here to explain entertainment, keep you ahead of the culture curve, and when Disney comes up with these radical rubrics that make things very conflated and not too convincing in terms of their actual factual relaying of information, well, we're here to parse it all out, explain it, and figure it out, and we're happy to do so. Folks, if you find this kind of content worthwhile and meaningful, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe. When you click it, you do indeed stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Now it is time for all of you to join in this conversation, so drop a comment down below and let us know what you think about Disney and the fact that we do not have Ahsoka finale ratings, yet we do have viewership for Loki. Do you think that they are hiding scared? Or do you think that they are victims of their own calculation system, which itself is designed to promote premieres and not much more? Thus, meaning that their premieres always get big numbers and fly to the top of the charts of Disney Plus until Nielsen comes out and says, wait a minute. All right, folks, drop a comment down below. You can find Jonas J. Campbell over on That Park Place, as well as the Jonas J. Campbell YouTube channel. And, folks, don't forget also to check out www.thatparkplace.com for all the news that should be fun. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Oh.
What are you doing?
Well, you see, I wanted to get some inside scoops on Disney and their different corporations, if you know what I mean. So I figured by looking into this fistbowl and sucking it randomly with my own energy that I paid for, you paid for, I could do the whole experience where you can be a master and spy on your targets.
You're an idiot. If you want to get the inside scoop on Disney or even other media organizations, you should check out thatparkplace.com and subscribe to WDW Pro's YouTube channel. That'd be way easier, more accurate, and less dumb.
Are you saying I won't get accurate information this way?
No, you can't.
Who'd have think?